Hey, this is Srinivas, Tamada, founder of mylesson.info. This video is about continuing my previous article about Ionic and Angular. I already covered the creating a welcome page and tabs and home page, but this video is going to cover the API authentication and the guards and how we're going to protect the guards and the routes. In the same way, how to use the resolver. All these things we're going to cover. And if you look at my previous article, you see the how to create a mock application server. This is very useful when you create this project in a dev environment, so that way you no need to connect the live environment. And one more thing, refer this article about creating a RESTful API with PHP, because this tutorial is required a RESTful API. You can use any kind of language, or Go or Java or something, but you have to follow this kind of database structure to create users and updates. And if you see it, this is actually how to create a token based RESTful API, because we are actually, once you log in, we are generating a token, so that using that token we are accessing all other things. You will find the repo here. You can check out this project and you can deploy it anywhere in the AWS or any free tier locations. And thing is, like, if you look at this one, so this is what the demo I'm going to explain. When you start the project here, you will see the login and create. So let me log in here. This is actually connecting with live one. And six, once you log in, so I'll get my name, everything. So, and this is like, it stays here. It actually works with mobile storage as well, so that is also I'm going to explain. And if you log out again, it come back. So, and if you look at the same thing in the domain, you connect with this. If you see this is connected to the live one, and this live is giving a response with all the details with the generated token, and then I'm just displaying the data here. And if anybody access directly like this, and this is automatically redirect to the home, because we already logged in and it has application storage. So right now this is for web, so this web is storing in local storage, but if it is in a mobile, it is a capacitor is using the SQLite for the mobile for Android and iOS. So that way you can do it. Now once you log out, and if try to access any of the home pages like feed or something, it automatically redirect back to the login because it's not authenticated. So that's what we're going to cover. The same way for mobile also, but this is the emulator, so I can't able to replicate. If you see the previous part, I just started the article for the previous one. This we got stopped it here. We created all the pages, and then directly it is going. It is not connected with anyone. So that's what we're going to continue on this, and here you can access any of the page. So that's what the intro, but we are going to jump into the actual problem to solve the login authentication. So let me close everything and make sure follow this article and download this project, and it actually gives you a server.js, so that you can just copy it here like this. So this may be required for a mock. If you look at the article, you'll understand why we need a mock. So let's quickly jump into that. And in the previous article I explained you have to modify the environments to work with the live and the production one. So this is the production one, and this is the the development one. So let me add something else here. It's called, I'm going to introduce API URL. It's like, for API URL for the dev, it is like localhost 8084. And the same thing for prod. Whenever you do Ionic build prod, it takes the new one called HTTPS. And this is my live API I hosted, like the wallscript.com/restful. Yeah, so this is what my prod, the same kind of structure I'm going to I mean the same response and request, I'm going to use it. So these two things you have to do, and you have to copy this. If you're not going to work with a mock, just ignore it, you directly modify this. So this is the most important one. So we configured the API URL. To continue this project, we need 3 services. One is HTTP service for connecting it, and one more is Auth service that has like login, sign up, all the actions. And the third one is storage service that is actually communicating with the mobile storage and the same way browser storage. So let me start with the basic HTTP server. Ionic generate the service, and I have a folder called services. I'm going to give HTTP. So this automatically generate some HTTP service. If you look at this, yeah, this got generated now. You'll find these 2 files. So let me open that HTTP service one. For this, you need to import HTTP client. That is like HTTP. I'm just giving this one. You have to import it from the. So you have to import it from here. So now we imported the HTTP client, and the same way. So I'm going to create a method called post. This is actually action, so it communicates with the APIs. So right now I'm going to give service name. So that is actually API name. This is basically a string. And the data, this is actually a request data. We are communicating with the API. And this one need actually a headers. So this headers is setting up what kind of HTTP or data you're sending. So this is a header. So this one you have to import it again. This you will get it from here. Okay, now it got imported anyway. So then I'm going to create one more called options, and with credential. This is a basic and the main thing is we're actually generating a URL here. This is called API URL. So this API URL we're connecting with the environment, that is a base environment. I mean the base API, and here the service name adds like login, sign up or something. So I'm just pointing to the environment dot API URL. So if you look at this, it actually connects with the environment, this one, but the prod it automatically picks up when you give the dash prod. You don't worry about that. I'll show you in the demo. So and then we are actually giving the service name. So this is what the final point. So here basically login or sign up, we are passing it to the post method, and finally we are returning the this dot HTTP method dot post. So this HTTP we are referring client 1, and then this need is actually a URL, and enter data we are actually JSON stringify, and the data, and then options. Looks like there is an error. Basically this is actually a pointing to this headers. I think I typed it wrongly, so let's save it. Now this service is ready, so let me close this, and now we need to modify the main app module. So this we need to import the HTTP module, client module, the same way you have to do it in the providers as well. Now this is done. Let's come back to the storage one. So we are going to use the capacitor storage. So let me generate the same, but it is a storage. Now the storage service has been created. So this one actually we are connecting with capacitor plugins. So you'll see the documentation in the capacitor, but you'll just follow this. It's called plugins and then at capacitor, and that is core. So we imported all the plugins here. So now this is the storage. The storage is like we need a couple of methods. One is storing the data and the getting the data, removing the data, and clear the storage. So everything like I'm going to create a async and await. It's in a promising way. So that way you'll get the data proper way. So store, and this store actually we need a like storage key, because entire application we're going to use a lot of keys. So this is a storage key. Basically I'm going to give a string and then the actual value I'm going to give, and I'm going to use the simple await function to, you can use storage and dot set and here everything in an object way, so the key is like pointing to this storage key, and then value is the value pointing to this. And so this storage we need to, like, refer to the, oh, I think it looks like I lost it. So this storage set is not working because I need to, you know to tell that it is actually referring to the plugins. Now if you look at that, that's the set. So this is the value. So whenever you want to store the value, you can directly call this function and set the key here and directly set the value here. But if you are setting the value directly here, it is not safe because anybody can read the data. So we can write a small encryption way to do this. That basically I'm going to create a one constant variable like encrypted value, and then BTOA. This is kind of base 64 encoding. So escape, I'm escaping all the values. I'm changing to the stringify, and again I'm just adding the value here. So if you look at this, this actually converts in a kind of a code, encrypted code. So this one I'm storing it here. When you read it, you have to decrypt it here. For this, there is a decryption method also available. If you have anything better than this, you can just use that. But I'm going to write one more function. This is for storage. The same way we need to write it for the get. Same way we need to create another method called get. This actually need a storage key only. So if you pass the reference key, you'll get the response. So that you'll get the response equal to await, and I'm just using the storage to get with the key value, the key, and refer this key here. This gives you some response with the value, and make sure it's a await statement. It automatically promise one, so you can just call this rest dot value. It has all the value, and then you will get the return actually the value, the response value. Else, so no data, so I'm just giving return false. But if you look at this, we encrypted entire data here, so this one actually encrypted data. Again, we need to change it to, because we actually did stringify, so we need to parse the data in a JSON format. So first we did that, and then we need to decrypt this. You have to come back in a reverse way. So we did escape, so we are using unescape. So I'm going to use unescape. And the last one is base 60 for authentication. For that, I'm going to use ATOB. So this is the decryption method for that. You can refer the J. You'll find all this information in the JavaScript documentation. Let's save it. The same way I'm going to create a removing the key. So remove item, I call it as, this one also need a storage key because this is actually specifically removing the key from the database. So await and the storage dot remove, and the same way like key, and you have to refer the storage key. Why? Because this one, because you may store something else in the local storage. In that case, you use this method to specifically remove that value, or else use the clear method. This is completely clearing off everything that you can use just clear. So this basically clears off everything. So make sure when you use this, if you are not depending on this, use this method, or else specifically use this. So now the storage method is ready. If you see the new Ionic, it comes with a root. You no need to include it in the app module or somewhere because this already included in the root. And now whenever actually, because we are playing with these keys, always create a small config file. The config folder. Here you can just create a small untouchable, a configuration file. I think we usually call it as a constants file. So I'm just calling as auth constants.ts. This actually is a simple file, class file, and it has all the keys. I'm going to create only the read-only files. So this is actually a reference file. We cannot use the same key everywhere. So I'm going to give public static and read only and the auth. So this is my reference key, and just giving user data key. If you want, you can change it. Basically, this is a reference key for your data. Now come to the authentication file, authentication service. Basically, this is actually where login and the sign up and the forgot page is communicating with this authentication. It has all the login sign up actions. Here we are going to maintain all the APIs, all the stuff. So let's quickly create that. Anyway, this service is going to use the HTTP and the storage service for better understanding. So, and if you are working with the feeds, you create a feed so that way you can maintain the services properly. So now if you look at this, this is the auth service. Right now we need to import the storage and the HTTP service. So I'm private, and the HTTP service we created, if you look at this, is pointed to the same service. I'm just give it HTTP service, and the same way private and the storage service. So make sure to make it a small letter, this one, and the caps. And finally this one actually controlling all the routes as well. So I'm going to use the router, just name it as a router. So we need these three services. We're going to use it, and here we're going to write login and the sign up and the logout, because I forgot password, I didn't do it now. So this one actually connecting to the login service. So here I need kind of a post data. This one is like username and password data is coming here. And this one I'm going to create as an observable method. So this is RxJS. It is kind of a promise way to get the data. So RxJS is the reactive programming. It's a library, and using this, it's providing all this kind of methods. It's basically, you can use a promise, but this is a better way because you can use it like a subscribe, all the stuff. And now every observable, like you have to return the stuff. So this one, now this dot HTTP service, and we're connecting the same post method. And some people don't maintain this. They'll directly use this method everywhere, but because in case if you have any API header problems, you can fix it here so that it applies to everyone. So I used to follow this way. And now this post method need, if you look at this, we already configured this need a service name and the data. So here you're going to fix it, your login is the API name. So this one, if you look at the API documentation of PHP, you will set this for login. And here is the post data. Yeah, that's it here, because whatever returns here, we are going to subscribe this, you will get this information. The same way like I follow, I'm trying to copy this and rename it again. The same thing here, the sign up changes here. But if you look at the logout, and this is basically like, right now I'm going to use this dot storage service dot clear. Right now I'm clearing everything. Or if you want to specifically want to use the remove item, then this dot storage service dot remove item. And I already told you, right, that auth constants. So if you look at that, the configuration file dot auth. So this way I get the key that is called user data key. And then this is a async and await function, so that you have to, use the then method to get the response. And then you can do the action whatever you want. Basically, okay, let's try with this now for better understanding. And this, if the item got removed, and then router and the navigate, and if it is anybody logout, it's come to the welcome page, so that is empty for now. So logout is done. If you don't want to maintain this, you just copy paste this, because clear is like just clear it off. And this is the promising way you have to wait for, because sometime the storage, it may take time for SQLite, and the same way local storage, that's why all the storage is in a promising way. Now let's work with the login page to connect with this action. I mean the login, whenever a user clicks it, you have to connect with the data, right? So this is the login page and the login page dot ts. I mean this is component. Now it comes to here. Basically, if you look at this login page, we have a username and password. Make sure give the proper names here. It's called username, and this input is password. I haven't started the project. Once everything is done, I'll run the project. So right now we have two inputs, and here's the login. I'll call it as an action here. So because I don't want to conflict with this, so I'm changing this to login action, because before, like without anything, we are just redirecting to the home, but here we are going to change the logic. So for this project, anyway, we imported the router, and now we are going to work with the auth service, because this has all our functions. So I'm just going to name it as auth service. And the same way we need a storage service, because this one we're going to store something, because in the auth service we are just clearing off, but here once you got the response, we're storing the information here. So, and the first thing is you have to create a small object. It's called post data. This has username and it's empty, and the password, it's empty, and this is actually equal to, and you mean this is public. If you're not giving anything else, it's public. Now we need to point this, I mean two-way binding with this input, so use the ng model that refers to the post dot username, I mean the post data, and now this is a password. Now let's start the project and let's see the console log and see this post data is printing or not. Then we'll slowly work on that so that you'll understand more. Let me start the project. It's called Ionic serve. It'll run at 8100. Now the project has been started. Let's go to the start. I'm just giving some input. Let's sign up. So login. So it's coming here. If you look at this page, this console log is coming. So username and password is printing now. That's good now. So let's try to add all the actions. Like basically we need to validate like user is actually giving a valid inputs or not. So then I'm going to create a small validate inputs. It's a method. So this is actually validating everything. So let me create a variable called username. So this is called post data dot username, and then we can go into trim it, because people can give the spaces. And the same way I'm just giving the password. So this is also we're trimming it. Now I'm going to return, like it's a combined one, like this post data dot username and this dot post data dot password. I mean we need these information first, and the same way in the username, because I pointed to the username because we trimmed it. So, and you have to check the length and this, And the same way, if you want, you can write a different methods here to validate your information. But right now I'm just checking the basic uh, default like length and the value is present or not. So basically, if anything fails, it gives you false statement. If it is true, it's true. So then this, and now I'm just calling the this dot validate inputs. This method basically calls, so because we have a two-way binding, so this validate everything and then goes here. Then if anything wrong here, I'm going to give a console log and just give some information like please give some information. Let's save it. Let's come back. Let me delete something and try to log in. So please give some information. If I give everything okay, you will not get this message. So now we are going inside. Now here we are going to take the actual action. So this is called this.auth service. And now I'm going to use the login. So right now we have the post data information called post data. So this has the actual information now. And now this is actually observable. So we are actually subscribing it. And the subscribe, so you will get the response from the subscribe. This is you have, it's a data type is any, and then you have to refer the fat arrow function. And if the response dot user data, because if you look at my previous article, this user data is the object name, I mean like mango project. So if you look at this network, so this is a live API call. So if you connect it, so this is called the user data. Make sure you're based on your API, you have to point it out that. So whenever that user data is present, and then, okay, let's write about the failure scenario. Then it's a console log. If nothing is there, maybe we are sending a message like, so if anything is failed, you'll get this. And if it is a success, so here is the main action. We are storing this information that we need this user information to store. This login API gives you back with the token and the username and the main information. So using that, you're going to communicate for all other APIs. I mean, if you are getting a specific feed data or message data, whatever you want. So just pointing to the storage service and the store. And here is like the keys auth constants. So you got the key now, and then response dot user data. You no need to worry about this. This information is encrypted and storing in the database because we encrypted everything. And once everything's done, this dot router dot navigate, and then this is actually navigating to the home. I mean the home route. This looks good. And now if you look at this project is right now, it's not, I didn't run the mock or anything. Now we need to write the error statement for all the network issues because this is not connected with any API. So because it's a subscribe method, here it comes with error and then any. So this is again a fat error function, like I'm going to give the console log, and this is network connection error. If I click login, and if you see there is a network connection error because it's right now pointing to the localhost 8084. We don't have any connection right now. So that's why it went here. Let me start the project. Let me start the mock server. This is like server, like node server.js. So this is right now it's running. I'm just quickly going through that. This is like a mock server. I already explained this. Visit the previous article. So this is what the login, and right now the mock username and password is Srinivas and 123456. If anything else, you'll get this message. You can test all of these things. If you see the mock, you will get this information. It's storing in the database. I mean the local storage thing. So I started this project. Now let's The same thing, I am trying to give something, the success scenario. When I click it, the network API went success. So the green state is okay because I'm running the project. You have the information now. If you go to the application and the storage, the data has been stored in an encrypted way. No one can read it. You can add extra values to the encryption method as well. So right now we don't have a sign out action. And we don't have a sign out action as well. But because we haven't protected the routes as well, you can access wherever you want. But that we're going to cover it later for using guards. Now if come to the basic, if I'm giving a wrong password like this, you'll get the incorrect username and password. So all these things we connected now. If you look at the Ionic toaster, showing it to the console is the not right way, because we need to, if you look at this, there is a toaster, it's a best way to display these messages. Right now we are going to convert all of these error messages into a toaster. So if you look at this documentation, how you can use this toaster controller and you can use it. So let me create a same way how I generated a service. I'm going to create a toaster. Let's go to the toaster service. Let's quickly modify this. If you look at this documentation, you need this. So I imported the toast controller, and now we need a async method. I'm going to use the same style of present toast method. And if you look at this messages keep changing right now. Let me going to give the information message. So this we are going to pass it from this. So this is going to be a string. That's it. It's a simple thing, and it's toast.present. If you want, you can change something else. And you want to show other options like icons, all these things, use this method with options. But right now I'm going to use the simple one. That's it. Like wherever you want, you can use this present toaster. Let me go back to the login page. All these console methods, I'm going to use it like a toast methods, like private. So this is the console log going to become like, this dot toast service dot present. What is that? Present toast. Yes, just copy and paste everywhere wherever you want. Sometime you have to restart the server because we introduced a new service. Better you have to restart for the better results, or else sometime the changes will not reflect. Now if you look at this, let's clear it off. I'm just giving some fake, the wrong username and password, incorrect username and password. If I give the real one, 6, it goes good. And now let me turn off this server. And now if you try this and give the login again, you'll get no network error. So looks good. And if you want to test this with a live environment, so just cut this Ionic serve, just give prod. So this will run at the prod environment. Yeah, this will take a couple of minutes because it's a prod one. It's going to compile the production way. Now the production one is running good. Let's come back to this. Let me close it. Now start. When I connect the login, if you see this login, it's connecting to the API, the live one, the same response I'm getting. And if I come back and clear it off, come back, if I give something wrong, username and password, see incorrect username and password, you will get the bad. Based on your front-end mock changes, you can deploy your backend changes. So that's what I would suggest. The same way you can follow the signup as well. The same style that I'm going to write it on the blog. The same way you can just create, but we are going to introduce one email and the name. But now we're going to work with protecting this. So this guard folder, we going to create some guard files. It's kind of a service file. This actually checks user is actually logged in or not. Then we are going to activate these guards with the index route in the same way for the home route, because these two routes we're going to use connective method, and using that we're going to do it. So let's going to create some guards. Again, I'm going to the generate method, changing it is a guard, change this to a guard, and now we have a guards folder. And now I'm going to create a home guard, and the same way I'm going to create for index guard. Only these are the name differences, but if you look at this, all these are a services kind of thing, but it comes with little. So let me implements with connective. We need to create a constructor. Here we are going to import all the, and we have a storage service we need, because storage service only knows the data is available or not. And if anything wrong, we need to redirect, right? So that is again a private, so it's a router. For the guard, we need to write a connectivate method. So that connectivate method we are going to apply here. So again, this connective method going to be a promise, because this we need to solve by using like resolve the method, or else like. So now I'm going to write a new promise, and basically the structure is like you have to resolve something. Basically it's a true or false. It's a fat arrow method, so basically it is resolve. But now this resolve true or false based on the storage method, if this has the value or not. So right now I'm going to use this, and let's keep that dot storage service dot get, and you have a auth constants file dot auth. This is the key reference. So we are checking that it has any value or not. So this is again a service. I mean this is again a promise. So here the response will come. This response as the value. Now we are going to check if the response is there, success. I mean, we need to resolve true, else resolve false. So this is going to be a true. Let me cut this, and this is going to be a false. If it is false, you have to redirect back, because this dot router dot and navigate login page, or like empty page. I mean the empty page means welcome page. Whatever you want, you can wish it. If it is true, it stays this exactly wherever it is there. And sometime a database may create some problems, so use the catch method for all the errors, like error, and then this is going to be a fat arrow, and then resolve, and this is also false, and show something else. So now the home guard like done. The same thing I'm going to introduce for the index. This is also like can activate, because in the index, if the data is there, you have to redirect back to the home page. If no data, you have to stay true. So it's completely reverse now. So I'm going to copy and paste it here. Now this is going to be a home page, and now here it is going to be true. And you have to, I forgot to copy paste the imports, just copy. Now come to the index page, use the can activate, and then apply that. You can use multiple guards here, index guard. So now whenever this route comes, it comes to the index guard and checks this method and see this got passed or not, based on the redirection happening instead of loading the pages. And this is the best way to protect the routes. So the same thing I'm going to apply it here as well. Here you can use multiple guards, like you can check if you are checking any other URLs is coming like that, like you can use a number of guards like this. So now we implemented the guards. Let's see what is going to happen. Make sure we start the server because we introduced a lot of new things. Now if you look at that, it directly came to the home page now. It has the local storage data. So if I'm giving a login here, it again come back to the home page. Look at this. And anyway, we need to set it up because this is the by default page is the feed, but right now it's coming a blank. That will fix it. So for example, like I'm just clearing the storage here, clear site data. I mean, if you look at here, there is no data. Now if I refresh this application, it is going back to the welcome page because there is no information here. Because whenever we gave the default one, you have to use this. If it is empty, change. I mean, if anybody comes to the home, you just redirect to the feed page. Now if you look at the login, it comes to the feed now. Let me see, type home now. What will happen is, see, it automatically read it to the feed. We need to, like, use the logout method to finish this function. Let's go to the settings page and I'm going to use the logout. And here we need, like, again the private method to auth service. This dot auth service dot, it's a simple way to call this logout. And this is removing item. So let's go to the settings page again and go to the HTML to connect this logout action. So let me create a small button called Ion. I gave mango. I created my own theme. If you want, you can give primary. And then this is a click action again. This is called logout action. And just save it. And if you see, there is a logout method. If I clear it off, see the data gone now. And the home, it's redirected back to the login page. So that way you can just log in, access pages, and log out and back to the normal page. For every page we need this token to access the notification and messages. We cannot call every page like feed, messages, and contact because right now the data is in the storage. Like if you consider in a mobile, if you're hitting a SQLite database, it consumes a lot of battery life. And we're going to create a resolver to make only one call when user logs into the home route. So then you're going to create a small reactive object. So using that reactive object, we are going to access the token information. So basically we need a token and the same way the first name to display it here. So for that, we need an auth service to access the user information, right? So we are I just call it as get user data. So this is the method. This method is connecting to the storage service and the get. So you have an auth constants.auth file. So this is the key reference. And now then I have the data here. And then so this is what I have the response. So this response is the user information. So basically you have to call this method everywhere on the page, or this method you have to call, but instead of this method we are going to call it in the home router level, because here only we're going to write it so that you cannot call this method in Ionic for every page. So now I'm going to create a small object called behavior subject object. It is coming from the RxJS. It's called user data. Any behavior subject thing you have to specify like this, like a dollar, to identify very quickly. And now this is going to be a new behavior subject, and the data will be any, and initially it will be the empty. So this is the reference key for only one time we are storing this. I mean, this is like a global object. So then using next, you can update the user information here. This is called the response. And then when you clear it off, I mean the logout, you just add this and clear it off the user data information, because when you log out, you have to clear this key as well. Resolver, I call it as a new folder called resolvers. I think I created it already. So I'm going to create a new file called, and if it is also kind of a service, so but we don't have any like auto-generated command for this. You have to specify it, like you can copy it from the any service. I'm giving a user data resolver. If you look at this name, and you have to constructor. Now this one is accessing the auth service. Why we are maintaining here, instead of that you can call this directly there, but because this auth service is only maintaining the user information, that's why I created a method here for easy change. And now return this dot auth service dot get user data, and let me give it the console log here. See, whenever calls at home route. Now come to the home router. So here only we are accessing this. I mean, you are making a call. Now here, like user data, you're just going to refer it whatever you want, like user data resolver. So what happening is, whenever this user comes to this route, it comes to this, it triggers this method, it comes to here, it makes this call, goes here and get this information and keep it in this value. So using this, you're going to display it wherever you want. Let's see how this works. Is this console is coming or not? We'll see, because we added a small console here. See, call set home route coming here now, and let's go to auth service. Let's see what kind of response we are getting here. I mean, it's from the get storage. See, this is what the information we are getting from this encrypted value, and we are getting this information here from the auth service. So the same thing we are storing in this object. Using this object, we're going to do it. So now in any page, like you can refer that object. So you, in that case, you no need to connect the storage. So that's what the main goal is. So now come to the feed page. It's called feed HTML. I'm going to change to the caps here. Now come to this page. Okay, now we need a private method. And now I'm going to call an ng on it, like auth service dot user data, because I am referring this now to subscribe, and the response, and always if you want to give the type here. So now you got this response. I call it as like, it's a normal object. I mean like display user data. This is actually any. So this dot equal to this response, right? Now this has, if you look at this, this has all the information now, because we referring this, we subscribe this, and we got all the information here. So using this, you can display it here. So display user data. What is the object name? Like name. So this is what the name of the object. If you see the mock also, we have we specified everything, the object names like this. So this is the reference. Now come back, I just gave the name. Instead of that, I'm just giving welcome to this. Yeah, so wherever you want, you just copy this same method, same style, copy this. Like for example, let's do the same for the settings. and I'm going to display there as some kind of a token. Yes, same thing. And this one, like go to the settings, and here I'm going to give, don't display the token, I'm just for reference I'm giving it. Is why I'm giving a question mark is if you don't know anything, it's kind of async kind of thing, so it's called token now. Token, so that's why you can refer the objects. Yep, and if I give here, the token came here like this. So that is what the pretty much we covered everything, and once you log out, all the information go off, even the application, the reference key, everything we clearing off, because if you look at the auth service, we're setting up is empty again. Again, if user comes back, it comes to the home route and do all the things. So this way you just, whatever you want, you can create n number of resolvers here. You can just give comma and execute how many functions you want for the home. You can execute it. And now building this project, like you have to use Ionic build prod. So just go to the package.json and you can add your custom scripts like this. And this is for copy, like I would say Ionic build, because by default it comes with Angular scripts, but now you can introduce your Ionic build prod. So whenever you want, you can use npm run Ionic build. If you want to copy something, Ionic copy, npm run Ionic copy. You no need to type everything. So I'm going to replicate the same thing for all other things, and this is for open. I mean opening the project with your Xcode or like Android SDK. So I configure a little bit so that now next time you can use this way to generate the production one, like npm run. Now if you look at this, the production build has been completed. You will see the www folder with all this production package builds. I don't know, a lot of files got created. That is how Ionic is building now. So anyway, we created a custom script. So let me copy this. So npm run ours copy. This basically copies the latest one to the, I think I made a mess in the package.json. Let's quickly go to the, this basically executes this Ionic copy and copy iOS. So this way you can shortcut all the things. And you can use this for Jenkins builds or anything. You can use this command set better way to you can do the pipeline process. Now if you see the new www got copied in the iOS, now open the project with the Xcode. So if you look at this, this is what the iOS, and if you want you can do it for the Android as well, but right now I'm only showing for the workspace for the Xcode. And now you can choose the whatever device you want. I used to choose X. And now if you have your own device, you can connect your device and make sure if you have give your login with your Apple ID and sign in, and try to maintain the only one identifier, because if you cannot duplicate it, like basically you have to change this one if you are using the same project name again and again. So basically it launches here, and once you hit the play button, it's going to launch the simulator. It'll take a little time. In the next video we can discuss about this icon changing, all the stuff we can think about that. Now if you look at this simulator, if you see that the story is getting it from the database, from the SQLite. So this is what the encrypted data is storing, and I have a, yeah, so you can go like this and the logout, and now it's come to the home page. If I'm giving something wrong, login, and you'll get this. This may change for like for the Android and iOS, and if you have any other options you can do it. Yeah, right now it is connecting to the live, and I'm going to commit the code here. Let's try with some live information like Superman demo and Superman demo at 9lessons.info demo, and I'm giving some username password like 123456. If you want, I'm just creating this user now. Let's register. Yeah, so it got created with this. Yeah, that's it. You can just try to create for Android as well. In the next video, we can discuss about changing the application icon and how to introduce the splash screen, the initial screen, and something else with a camera and anything notifications. We'll think about that. That's it for now. Thanks a lot for watching this video.